Lee Hyun stepped off the transport ship and looked up at the biggest building he had ever seen. The Galactic Defense Academy stretched high into the purple sky of Nexus Prime. Metal and glass towers twisted together like giant trees. Ships from dozens of worlds flew between the buildings. Everything looked so different from Earth. "Stay close," Park Gina whispered beside him. She carried her bag tight against her chest. Her dark eyes moved quickly, taking in all the strange sights. "Remember what they told us. We represent all humans here." Hyun nodded but said nothing. He had always been quiet, even back home in Seoul. His grandmother used to say he watched more than he spoke. That habit would help him here. Other cadets walked past them toward the main entrance. Hyun had seen pictures of alien species before, but seeing them in person felt different. A group of tall, green-scaled beings walked by. Their yellow eyes looked down at the two humans with curiosity. Behind them came creatures that looked like walking crystals. Light bounced off their bodies in rainbow colors. "Look at them," one of the crystal beings said to another. "So small and soft. Are these really the Deathworlders we heard about?" Hyun pretended not to hear. He and Gina followed the crowd into the Academy's main hall. The ceiling was so high that clouds seemed to form near the top. Hundreds of cadets from across the galaxy filled the space. Most were much bigger than humans. A four-armed creature with thick gray skin stood on a raised platform. His voice boomed across the hall without any machines to make it louder. "Welcome, cadets, to your first day at the Galactic Defense Academy. I am Commander Thex. For the next 4 years, this place will test everything you think you know about strength, courage, and honor." Hyun listened carefully. The translator device in his ear turned the alien words into Korean, but he could hear the original language underneath. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "You come from many worlds," Commander Thex continued. "Some of you breathe different air. Some of you see different colors. Some of you have never felt gravity this light. But you all have one thing in common. You want to protect the peace between our worlds." A cadet near Hyun snorted. It was one of the tall, scaled beings. This one had red markings along his neck that probably meant he was important on his home world. "Vextar," the scaled being said to his friend. "I am Vextar of the Saurian Empire. My family has fought in 100 wars. What could these tiny pink things possibly teach us about war?" The crystal being next to him spoke in a voice like music. "I am Quinn of the Manthari Collective. My species values logic above all else. I have studied the data on humans. Their physical capabilities are unremarkable." A third alien joined their conversation. This one looked like living stone with gems for eyes. "I am Tala of the Viridian Reaches. I can feel emotions from other beings. These humans, their feelings are so strong, so chaotic. How do they focus with all that noise in their heads?" Hyun felt Gina's hand touch his arm. She had heard the aliens talking, too. Her jaw was tight with anger, but she said nothing. They had both learned to control their temper long before coming here. Commander Thex raised one of his 4 hands. The hall fell silent. "Before you go to your rooms, we will have a simple test. Nothing difficult, just a way to see how well you work together." Robots rolled into the hall carrying strange devices. They looked like metal flowers with glowing centers. The robots placed one device in front of each group of cadets. "These are harmony crystals," Commander Thex explained. "They will only activate when every member of your group touches them at the same time. The crystal will rise into the air. Your job is to keep it floating for 10 seconds. Work together. Support each other. Begin. Hyun found himself in a group with Vextar, Quinn, Tala, and 2 other aliens he had not met yet. Gina was assigned to a different group across the hall. "This is simple," Vextar said. He reached out with one clawed hand. Everyone touched the crystal. The 6 beings placed their hands, claws, and appendages on the metal device. It hummed to life and began to rise. Soft blue light poured from its center. Everything seemed to be working perfectly. Then one of the other aliens, a bird-like creature with bright feathers, lost his balance. His wings slipped off the crystal. The device started to fall. Without thinking, Hyun moved. His body shifted low and fast. His hand shot out and caught the falling crystal before it could hit the ground. For a moment, the device rested in his palm, still glowing. "Quickly," he said in basic galactic standard. "Touch it again." The bird-like alien put his wing back on the crystal. It rose into the air again, completing the 10-second test. The group stared at Hyun. The crystal had been falling fast. None of them had even seen it start to drop. But somehow, this small human had caught it. "How did you move so fast?" Quinn asked. Her musical voice had a new note in it. Confusion. "Lucky," Vexitar said, but his yellow eyes stayed on Hyun. "Just lucky." Hyun said nothing. He had not moved fast. He had simply seen the bird alien starting to fall before it happened. His grandmother had taught him to watch for small signs, a shift in balance, a change in breathing, a look in the eyes that said someone was about to make a mistake. On Earth, watching for danger was normal. Here, it seemed to be magic. Tala stepped closer to him. Her gem eyes sparkled. "I felt something from you in that moment. Not fear. Not surprise. Just certainty. Like you knew exactly what would happen." "We should go to our rooms," Hyun said quietly. He did not want more attention. As the groups broke up, Hyun heard the aliens whispering. Some said it was luck. Others said humans might be more interesting than they looked. Vextar said nothing, but his eyes followed Hyun as they left the hall. Gina found Hyun in the corridor outside their rooms. Her test had gone well, too, though nothing exciting had happened. "They're all watching us," she said in Korean. "Some of them think we're weak. Others think we're hiding something." "Maybe we are," Hyun said. He looked out the window at the alien stars. "They don't understand what it means to grow up on a world where everything wants to kill you. Should we tell them?" "No," Hyun said. "They'll figure it out soon enough." Outside their window, the purple sun of Nexus Prime was setting. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new challenges. And Hyun had a feeling that catching a falling crystal would be the least impressive thing any human did at this academy. The first week at the academy was harder than Hyun had expected, not because the work was difficult, but because everything was built for aliens. The desks were too tall for humans. The doors were heavy. Even the food dispensers were placed too, high on the walls. But Hyun and Gina learned to adapt. They always did. "Your species is remarkable," Dr. Yoon Mira said during their morning meeting. She was the only other human at the academy, a scientist who had been studying alien life for 10 years. "Most new cadets struggle for months to adjust. You two are managing in days." Dr. Yoon had kind eyes behind her glasses. She reminded Hyun of his old teacher back in Seoul. But there was something else in her expression. Worry, maybe. The other, "Cadets are talking about you," she continued. "Some are curious. Others are less friendly." Through the window of Dr. Yoon's office, Hyun could see cadets training in the courtyard below. Vextar was there with a group of other Saurians. They were practicing combat moves with weapons that looked like glowing sticks. "What do they say?" "About us?" Gina asked. "They call you the soft ones," Dr. Yoon said. "They think humans are weak because we don't have scales or claws or natural armor. They don't understand that strength comes in many forms." That afternoon, Hyun had his first tactical analysis class. The instructor was a floating creature that looked like a jellyfish made of light. It spoke by changing colors. "Today we will study the Battle of Kepler Station," the instructor announced. 50 years ago, 3 different species fought for control of this strategic point. Look at the battle map and tell me what you see. A 3-dimensional image appeared in the center of the room. It showed spaceships moving around a space station. Different colored dots represented the 3 alien fleets. Hyun studied the image carefully. The other cadets started talking immediately about ship types and weapon ranges. But Hyun saw something else. "The Blue Fleet is going to lose," he said quietly. The room went silent. All eyes turned to him. "Explain," the instructor said. Its colors shifted to bright orange, which probably meant interest. "The Blue Fleet commander is thinking like a predator," Hyun said. "He wants to attack the strongest enemy first. But look at the movement patterns. The Red Fleet and Green Fleet are not really fighting each other. They're working together to tire out the Blue Fleet." Quinn's musical voice rang out. "That is impossible. The red and green species have been enemies for centuries." "Maybe," Hyun said, "but enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's an old Earth saying. Sometimes enemies work together against a bigger threat." The instructor's colors shifted through several patterns. "Continue your analysis." "The Blue Fleet will attack the Red Fleet here." Hyun pointed to a spot on the map. "The Red Fleet will retreat, but slowly. This will pull the Blue Fleet away from the space station. Then the Green Fleet will attack the Blue Fleet from behind." "And how do you know this?" Vexatar asked. His voice had an edge to it. "Pattern recognition," Hyun said. "My grandmother taught me to play Go when I was young. This looks like a Go strategy called the Sacrifice Gambit." The instructor made the image move forward in time. The battle played out exactly as Hyun had predicted. The Blue Fleet was caught between the Red and Green Fleets and destroyed. "Fascinating," the instructor said. Its colors were now a soft blue, which seemed to mean approval. "You saw a pattern that military historians took years to understand." After class, Quinn approached Hyun in the hallway. Her crystal body clicked softly as she walked. "How did you know?" she asked. "I analyzed all available data about those 3 species. Nothing suggested they would work together." "Sometimes the data doesn't show you everything," Hyun said. "You have to feel it." "Feel it?" Quinn's voice rose higher. "Feelings are not logical. Feelings lead to mistakes." "Maybe for your species," Gina said, joining the conversation. "But humans use feelings as data too. Fear tells us about danger. Anger tells us about threats. Even love tells us who to protect." Quinn stood very still for a long moment. "I must study this phenomenon," she said finally. "Your species processes information in ways I do not understand." The next day brought survival training. Commander Thex led the cadets to a large dome filled with fake forests and mountains. The air inside was thick and hot. "This training dome simulates the environment of Kythera Prime," Commander Thex announced. "High gravity, toxic plants, and predators. Your job is to survive for 6 hours and reach the extraction point." The cadets were divided into teams of thus 4. Hyun found himself with Tala, a slug-like creature called Krill, and a robot-like being called Unit 7. "Stay together," Unit 7 said in a mechanical voice. "My sensors will detect threats." But as they moved through the fake forest, Hyun noticed things the robot's sensors missed. The way certain plants leaned away from the path, suggesting something dangerous had passed by recently. The sound of insects going quiet in specific areas. The smell of something dead carried on the wind. "We should go this way," Hyun said, pointing to a path that looked more difficult. "Negative," Unit 7 said. "My sensors indicate the direct path is safer." "Your sensors are wrong," Hyun said gently. "Something big has been using that direct path. We don't want to meet it." Tala touched his arm. Her gem eyes glowed softly. "I feel your certainty again, like yesterday with the crystal. How do you know these things?" "On Earth, knowing these things keeps you alive," Hyun said. "My father took me camping in the mountains when I was small. He taught me to read the signs." They followed Hyun's suggested path. It was harder, with steep rocks and thick bushes. But they avoided the massive creature that other teams encountered on the direct path. Hyun could hear the screams and roars, echoing through the dome. When they reached the extraction point, they were the third team to arrive. 2 teams never made it at all. "How did you know about the creature?" Commander Thex asked Han after the exercise. "Animal behavior is similar everywhere," Han said. "Big predators leave signs. You just have to know how to read them." Commander Thex stared at him with all 4 eyes. "On my world, only our greatest hunters learn such skills, and they train for decades." "On my world, children learn such skills," Hyun said, "because if they don't, they die." That evening, Hyun and Gina sat in the Academy's observation deck. Through the transparent walls, they could see the stars of the galaxy. Earth was too far away to see, but Hyun knew it was out there somewhere. "They're starting to notice us," Gina said, "but they still don't understand what we are." "Maybe that's good," Hyun said. "Let them think we're weak. Let them think we're lucky. When the real tests come, they'll be surprised." And when will the real tests come? Hyun watched a transport ship dock with the station. "Soon," he said. "I can feel it." Across the observation deck, Vextar sat with his Saurian friends. They were talking in low voices and glancing at the humans. Their yellow eyes held a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "The small ones are strange," Vextar said in his own language. He didn't know that Hyun had been studying Saurian grammar in his free time. "Strange how?" asked another Saurian. "They see things we do not see. They know things they should not know. And they are not afraid." "Not afraid of what?" "Anything," Vextar said. "I have watched them for a week. They show no fear, even when—" The dome beast roared. The male human did not even flinch. "Perhaps they are too stupid to understand danger." "No," Vextar said slowly. "They understand danger perfectly. They just don't run from it." Hyun smiled to himself. Vexitar was more observant than he let on. Soon the big Saurian would understand what it meant to come from a death world. Soon they all would. In the distance, an alarm began to sound. Not a danger alarm, but a class announcement. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new challenges, and Hyun was ready for all of them. 3 weeks into their time at the academy, Hyun and Gina had settled into a routine. They attended classes, completed assignments, and slowly earned the respect of some of their classmates, but others still saw them as weak creatures from a distant world. Dr. Yoon had warned them that advanced classes would be different. "Today you will meet another human cadet," she told them over breakfast. "Kor Daehyun is in his 3rd year here. He's the first human to ever make it this far in the program." Hyun looked up from his food with interest. "What is he like?" "Quiet, like you. But he's earned respect the hard way. Some of the aliens who used to mock humans now ask for his advice." Dr. Yoon's expression grew serious. "Today's class is xenobiology. You'll be studying dangerous creatures from across the galaxy. Remember, you represent all of humanity. Be careful." The xenobiology classroom was different from the others. The walls were made of thick, transparent metal. Warning signs in a dozen alien languages covered every surface. In the center of the room sat a massive cage covered by a dark cloth. Kor Daehyun was already there when Hyun and Gina arrived. He was older than them, maybe 25, with scars on his hands and a calm expression. He nodded to them politely, but said nothing. The instructor was Dr. Venth, a spider-like creature with 8 eyes and a voice like wind through leaves. "Today we study the razor claw of Cathara," Dr. Venth announced. "This creature is one of the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. It has 6 limbs, each ending in claws that can cut through steel. Its hide is thick enough to stop most energy weapons. Its reflexes are faster than anything you have ever seen." The other cadets leaned forward with interest. Vextar, Quinn, and Tala were all in this advanced class. So were several aliens Hyun had not met before. "The specimen we have today is sedated," Dr. Venth continued. "It has been unconscious for 6 hours and will remain so for 6 more. This is the only way to safely observe a living razor claw." Dr. Venth used a long metal rod to pull away the cloth covering the cage. Inside was the most terrifying creature Hyun had ever seen. It was 12 feet tall and covered in black fur that looked like steel wool. 6 powerful limbs ended in claws as long as Hyun's forearm. Its head was massive, with teeth that curved like sabers. Even unconscious, the razor claw looked deadly. "Note the muscle structure," Dr. Venth said, pointing with her rod. "The razor claw can leap 50 feet in a single bound. Its claws can strike faster than most beings can blink. On its homeworld of Cathara, nothing hunts the razor claw. It is the ultimate predator." Quinn raised one of her crystal appendages. "What is its intelligence level?" "Highly intelligent," Dr. Venth replied. "Razor claws can solve complex problems and work together in hunting packs. They have been known to set traps for prey and use tools." "How many beings have they killed?" asked a new alien that looked like a walking tree. "In the past century, razor claws have killed over 3,000 sapient beings," Dr. Venth said. "Most were researchers or colonists who underestimated the creature's abilities." Hyun studied the beast carefully. Even sedated, its muscles remained tense. Its breathing was deep and steady, but something about its posture bothered him. "How do we contain such a creature?" Vextar asked. "Multiple redundant systems," Dr. Venth explained. "Energy barriers, sonic suppressors, neural dampeners, and physical restraints. No creature has ever escaped from this classroom." As if summoned by her words, a red light began flashing on the cage's control panel. An automated voice spoke in Galactic Standard. "Warning! Containment field operating at 60% efficiency." Dr. Venth moved quickly to a control console. "Nothing to worry about," she said. "These old systems sometimes have minor fluctuations." But the red light continued flashing, and the automated voice spoke again. "Warning! Containment field operating at 30% efficiency. Hyun looked at the razor claw more carefully. Its breathing had changed. The muscles in its legs were tensing differently, and one of its eyes was slightly open. "Doctor," Hyun said quietly, "I think it's waking up." "Impossible," Dr. Venth replied without looking up from her console. "The sedative is good for 6 more hours. Warning, containment. Field operating at 10% efficiency." The razor claw's eye opened fully. It was yellow with a black slit down the middle like a giant cat's eye. But there was intelligence in that eye. And hunger. "Doctor," Hyun said more loudly, "it's awake." Dr. Venth finally looked at the cage. The razor claw was now watching her, with both eyes, its lips pulled back to show those massive curved teeth. "Impossible," she whispered. "Warning, containment field failure. Warning, containment field failure." The energy barrier around the cage flickered and died. The only thing keeping the razor claw contained now was the metal bars of the cage itself. The creature stood up slowly. Its 6 limbs unfolded with grace and power. It was even bigger standing than it had looked lying down. The top of its head nearly touched the ceiling. "Everyone stay calm," Dr. Venth said, but her voice was shaking. "The cage will hold. The bars are made of reinforced trilithium." The razor claw tested the bars with one claw. The metal screeched and bent. "Run!" Kor Daehyun said quietly. "Everyone run! Now!" But it was too late. The razor claw pulled the cage, door off its hinges, and threw it across the room. The metal door hit the wall with a sound like thunder. The creature stepped out of the cage and looked around the classroom. Its yellow eyes moved from one cadet to another, as if choosing which one to kill first. Most of the alien cadets had frozen in terror. Their natural fight-or-flight responses had chosen neither. They simply stood and stared at death approaching them. But Tala moved. The crystal being backed toward the wall, trying to get as far from the razor claw as possible. The creature's head turned toward her movement, its lips pulled back further. The razor claw crouched low, preparing to leap. Tala was 50 feet away, but Hyun remembered Dr. Venth saying the creature could jump 50 feet in a single bound. "No," Tala whispered. Her musical voice was high and frightened. Emergency alarms were now blaring throughout the academy. Security would come, but not fast enough. The razor claw bunched its powerful leg muscles. Most beings would run away from danger. Most beings would try to hide or call for help. But humans were different. Humans had evolved on a world where running away often meant death. Sometimes the only way to survive was to face the danger directly. The razor claw leaped, and Hyun moved. He didn't run away from the creature. He ran toward it. While every alien in the room watched in horror, the small human cadet rushed directly at the most dangerous predator in the known galaxy. Gina shouted his name. Kor Dae-hyun started moving to help. But Hyun was already there, positioning himself between the flying creature and the terrified Tala. What happened next would be talked about in the academy for years to come. The razor claw was in mid-leap, its 6 limbs spread wide, its claws extended, to tear Tala apart. But Hyun had studied the creature's movement in the few seconds he had watched it. He had seen how it moved, how it balanced, where its center of gravity was located. As the massive beast sailed through the air above him, Hyun moved with precision his alien classmates could barely follow. He ducked under the creature's claws, stepped to the side to avoid its grasping limbs, and reached up to grab specific points on the razor claw's body. What he did next defied everything the aliens thought they knew about physics, biology, and common sense. But then again, they had never seen a human fight before. Time seemed to slow down as the razor claw flew through the air toward Tala. Hyun could see every detail with perfect clarity, the way the creature's claws caught the light, the yellow fire in its eyes, the foam on its lips as it prepared to kill. But Hyun was not afraid. His grandmother had taught him that fear was just information. It told you that danger was near. What you did with that information was up to you. The razor claw was massive and powerful, but it was also predictable. Like all predators, it followed patterns. Hyun had spent the past few minutes watching those patterns, learning them, understanding them. As the creature reached the top of its leap, Hyun moved, not away from the danger, but into it. He ducked under the razor claw's front claws and stepped to the side. The creature's momentum carried it past him, but Hyun was ready. His hands shot out and grabbed two specific points on the beast's body. One hand gripped the thick fur just behind the creature's front shoulder. The other found a pressure point near the base of its neck. The watching aliens expected the small human to be crushed. The razor claw weighed as much as 6 humans. Its claws could cut through steel. How could anything so small hope to stop something so large? But Hyun was not trying to stop the creature's momentum. He was redirecting it, using principles his grandfather had taught him in the old martial arts dojo. Hyun let the razor claw's own weight and speed work against it. As the creature tried to turn in midair to attack him, Hyun twisted his body and pulled. The razor claw's leap became a controlled fall. Its massive body spun through the air and crashed to the floor with tremendous force. But instead of landing on top of Tala, it landed exactly where Hyun wanted it to land, on its back. Off balance, confused. Before the creature could recover, Hyun was on top of it. His knees pressed against the razor claw's throat, just hard enough to make breathing difficult. His hands found nerve clusters that his grandfather had shown him on anatomy charts. The same pressure points that worked on humans also worked on most other species. The razor claw tried to roll over, but Hyun's weight was positioned perfectly. The creature tried to reach him with its claws, but the angle was wrong. It could not get leverage to attack the small human who had somehow pinned it to the ground. "Stay calm," Hyun said to the beast in a quiet voice. "I do not want to hurt you, but I will not let you hurt my friends." The razor claw's yellow eyes stared up at him with intelligence and rage. It made a sound like a growl mixed with a question. How had this tiny creature defeated it so easily? The classroom was completely silent except for the sound of the razor claws. Heavy breathing. Every alien cadet stared with expressions of shock and disbelief. Vexitar's mouth hung open, showing his sharp teeth. His yellow eyes were wide with amazement. Quinn's crystal body had stopped its normal soft humming. She stood perfectly still, as if her logical mind could not process what she had seen. Tala remained pressed against the wall, safe but shaking. Her gem eyes reflected the light in fractured patterns. Even Kor Dae-hyun looked surprised, though he hid it better than the others. Dr. Venth had dropped her control pad. All 8 of her eyes were focused on Hyun and the pinned razor claw. "How?" she whispered. "How is this possible?" The security team burst through the classroom door at that moment. 4 heavily armed guards in full combat armor rushed in, expecting to find chaos and carnage. Instead, they found a human cadet sitting calmly on top of the galaxy's most dangerous predator. "Status report," the lead guard shouted. "Containment. Breach resolved," Hyun said in the same quiet voice he had used with the razor claw. "The creature is secured." The lead guard looked at his instruments. "Confirmed." The target's vital signs are stable but suppressed. How did you— Carefully, Hyun said. The security team moved forward with a portable restraint field. The energy cage would safely contain the razor claw until it could be returned to its permanent holding area. Can you release it safely? The lead guard asked. Hyun nodded. He spoke softly to the razor claw again. They are going to move you now. Do not fight them. Sleep, rest. Dream of your home world. Slowly, carefully, Hyun shifted his weight and lifted his hands from the creature's pressure points. The razor claw remained still for a moment, watching him. Then it rolled onto its side and allowed the security team to activate the restraint field around it. As the guards carried the contained creature away, Hyun stood up and brushed dust from his uniform. He looked completely calm, as if pinning. A 12-foot predator was something he did every day. Medical team to xenobiology classroom, Dr. Venth said into her communicator. We need to check all cadets for shock and injury. I am not injured, Tala said in a voice like breaking glass. But I am confused. What did we just witness? A human being human, Kor Dae-hyun said. There was pride in his voice, and something else. Relief, maybe. I was wondering when you two would show them what we really are. Vextar approached Hyun slowly, as if the human might suddenly become dangerous. You defeated a razor claw, he said, with your bare hands. No weapons, no armor, no technology. How? I did not defeat it, Hyun said. I just convinced it to lie down. Convinced it how? Hyun thought about how to explain concepts that had no words in galactic standard. How do you describe pressure points to someone who had never studied anatomy? How do you explain leverage to someone who had never needed to fight something bigger than themselves? On Earth, he said finally, everything is dangerous. The weather can kill you. The animals can kill you. Even the plants can kill you. So, humans learn to use our minds instead of our muscles. We learn to be smarter than the things that want to eat us. But the razor claw is intelligent, Quinn said. Dr. Venth said it can solve complex problems. Yes, Hyun agreed, but it has never met anything like a human before. It did not know what to expect. Dr. Venth was checking readings on a new control pad. The creature's stress levels are actually decreasing, she announced. Somehow your technique did not harm it at all. Good, Hyun said. I did not want to hurt it. It was just scared and confused. Scared? Vextar's voice rose higher. The razor claw was scared? All predators are scared, Hyun said. That is why they are dangerous. Fear makes them fight harder. Gina finally moved from where she had been, standing. She walked over to Hyun and looked him up and down, checking for injuries. You idiot, she said in Korean. You could have been killed. But I was not, he replied in the same language, and neither was Tala. The medical team arrived and began checking each cadet for signs of trauma. Most of the aliens were fine physically, but several showed signs of shock. Tala was given a mild sedative to help with her shaking. As the medical team worked, Commander Thex entered the classroom. His 4 eyes took in the bent cage, the claw marks on the walls, and the group of shaken cadets. Report, he said to Dr. Venth. Containment failure led to a razor claw escape, she said. Cadet Lee Hyun subdued the creature without weapons or assistance. Commander Thex looked at Hyun for a long moment. You pinned a razor claw. Yes, sir. Bare-handed. Yes, sir. Why? Hyun thought about the question. Why had he risked his life for an alien he barely knew? Why had he charged toward danger instead of running away? Because it was the right thing to do, he said. Commander Thex made a sound that might have been laughter. Dismissed. All of you. Classes are canceled for the rest of the day. As the cadets filed out of the classroom, Hyun heard them whispering in a dozen different languages. But now the whispers were different. Before, they had talked about humans with curiosity or dismissal. Now they talked about humans with something new, respect, and just a little bit of fear. Outside the classroom, Vextar caught up with Hyun in the hallway. "Teach me," the big Saurian said. "Teach you what? How to fight like that. How to use my opponent's strength against them." Hyun looked up at the alien who had called him weak just a few weeks ago. "It will take time, and patience, and you will have to change how you think about fighting." "I will do whatever is necessary," Vextar said. "I have never seen anything like what you did in there. I want to learn." Other cadets were gathering around them now. Quinn approached with her clicking walk. "I also wish to study your techniques from a scientific perspective." Even Tala joined the group, though she stayed a careful distance from Hyun. "I felt something from you during the incident. Complete calm. No fear at all. How do you train your mind to be so still?" Hyun looked around at the alien faces watching him. Just a few hours ago, they had seen him as a weak creature from a distant world. Now they were asking him to teach them. "Tomorrow," he said, "after classes, I will show you some basic techniques." As the group broke up, Gina walked beside him toward their dormitory. "Everything changes now," she said in Korean. "Yes," Hyun agreed. "They will never see us the same way again." "Is that good or bad?" Hyun thought about the question as they walked through corridors filled with aliens who now watched humans with new eyes. "I guess we will find out," he said. News of the Razorclaw incident spread through the academy faster than light-speed communication. By dinner time, every cadet, instructor, and staff member had heard some version of the story. Most of them did not believe it. "A human pinned a Razorclaw," laughed a senior cadet from the warrior caste of Alteran Prime. "Impossible. Humans are soft. They have no claws, no natural armor, no poison sacs. What could they possibly do against a real predator?" But the security footage did not lie. In the Academy's main conference room, Commander Thex watched the recording for the 10th time. Each viewing showed him something new about the human's technique. "Slow it down," he said to his aide. "Show me the moment of contact again." The holographic display showed Hyun moving toward the leaping Razorclaw. Frame by frame, they watched him duck under the claws, step aside from the grasping limbs, and grab the creature at exactly the right points. "There," Commander Thex pointed with one of his forearms. "Watch his hands. He does not grab randomly. Each grip is precise, calculated." His aide was a young Bronthan with gray skin like his commander. "Sir, our combat analysts have been studying this footage all day. They say the human's technique shows understanding of anatomy, physics, and psychology that should take decades to master." "How old is this cadet?" 19 standard years, sir." Commander Thex made a rumbling sound deep in his throat. "On his world, warriors trained for 50 years before they could claim mastery of hand-to-hand combat. This human had done something that their greatest fighters might attempt only with decades of preparation." "What do we know about human combat training?" he asked. "Very little, sir. Dr. Yoon has provided some basic information, but human military techniques are not well documented in galactic records." "That is about to change," Commander Thex said. "Send a message to Earth. I want detailed information about human martial arts, combat psychology, and training methods. Meanwhile, in the Academy's medical bay, Dr. Yoon was having her own concerns. She had just finished reading the medical team's report on the Razorclaw incident. No elevated heart rate, she muttered to herself. No stress hormones. No signs of adrenaline surge. It's like he was sitting in a peaceful garden instead of fighting for his life. Her assistant, a spider-like arachnid named Dr. Click, approached with additional data. Doctor, I have been analyzing the human's vital signs during the incident. The results are unusual. Show me. The display showed Hyun's biological readings during the fight. His heart rate had actually decreased when the Razorclaw escaped. His breathing had become deeper and more controlled. His brain activity showed the patterns of deep meditation. This makes no sense, Dr. Yoon said. When humans face extreme danger, they should show fight or flight responses. Increased heart rate, adrenaline surge, heightened alertness. Perhaps, Dr. Click suggested, this human has transcended normal biological responses through training. Dr. Yoon shook her head. Lee Hyun is 19 years old. No amount of training should allow this level of control. Unless, Dr. Click said slowly, training of this type begins very early in human development. That evening, Hyun found himself in the Academy's main gymnasium. Word had spread that he would be teaching basic human combat techniques to any cadet who wanted to learn. He had expected maybe 5 or 6 students. Instead, nearly 50 alien cadets filled the room. Vextar was there with a dozen other Saurians. Quinn had brought several Manthari scientists. Tala stood with a group of Viridian empaths. Even senior cadets from the 4th year had come to watch. This is more than I expected, Gina whispered to him in Korean. We will start simple, Hyun said in Galactic Standard, addressing the crowd. Human martial arts are based on 3 principles: balance, leverage, and timing. He gestured for the aliens to sit on the floor. Most of them found this uncomfortable, but they did it anyway. First, balance. Every living thing has a center of gravity. If you can control that center, you can control the whole creature. Hyun asked Vextar to stand up. The big Saurian looked nervous but approached. Do not worry, Hyun said. I will not hurt you. Please, try to push me down. Vextar reached out, with both clawed hands and shoved at Hyun's chest, but somehow the human was not there anymore. Vextar stumbled forward off balance, and Hyun gently guided him to the ground with minimal effort. How? Vextar asked from the floor. I moved your center of gravity, Hyun explained, helping the Saurian stand up. When you pushed, I stepped aside and pulled you in the direction you were already moving. Your own strength did the work. Quinn's musical voice rang out with excitement. This is applied physics. You use the alien's momentum against him. Yes, Hyun said, but physics alone is not enough. You must also understand psychology. He turned to address the whole group. Every species has instincts, reflexes, patterns of behavior. If you can read those patterns, you can predict what your opponent will do. What patterns did you see in the Razorclaw? Asked a senior cadet. Hyun thought carefully about his answer. Razorclaws are ambush predators. They rely on surprise and overwhelming force. When the creature escaped, it was confused and angry, but it still followed its hunting instincts. It looked for the most vulnerable target and attacked directly. Tala. Several cadets said at once, yes. Tala was moving, which triggered the creature's prey drive. She was also the smallest being in the room besides me and Gina. Natural predator behavior. So you knew it would attack her? I knew it was possible. That is why I positioned myself to intercept. For the next hour, Hyun demonstrated basic techniques. How to fall safely. How to use an attacker's momentum against them. How to find pressure points that would disable without causing permanent harm. The alien cadets struggled with concepts that seemed simple to Hyun. Their natural fighting styles relied on strength, speed, or natural weapons. The idea of using gentleness to overcome violence was foreign to them. It requires a different way of thinking, Kor Dae-hyun said. He had been watching quietly from the back of the room. On Earth, humans face dangers they cannot match with strength alone, so they learn to be clever. How dangerous is Earth? Tala asked. Her musical voice was curious but worried. Kor Dae-hyun and Hyun exchanged looks. How do you explain a world where evolution was driven by constant predation? Where natural disasters could destroy entire civilizations? Where even the weather was trying to kill you? Earth has more active predator species than any other known world, Kor Dae-hyun said finally. We have creatures that hunt in packs. Creatures that are perfectly camouflaged. Creatures that can kill with a single bite. We have storms that can level cities and earthquakes that can split continents. And humans survived in this environment? Quinn asked. Humans dominated this environment, Gina said, speaking up for the first time. We became the apex predator of our world, not through strength or natural weapons, but through intelligence and adaptability. A hush fell over the group. They were beginning to understand what it meant to be human. Is this why you show no fear? Vextar asked. We feel fear, Hyun said, but we learn to use it as information instead of letting it control us. As the training session ended, cadets from dozens of species approached Hyun with questions, requests, for more lessons and expressions of respect that would have seemed impossible just days before. Commander Thex appeared in the doorway of the gymnasium. He had been watching for some time. Cadet Lee, he called out. Hyun approached the commander and stood at attention. Yes, sir. Walk with me. They left the gymnasium and walked through corridors that were quieter than usual. Word of the training session had spread, and aliens who passed them in the halls looked at Hyun with new interest. In 200 years of Academy operation, Commander Thex said, no cadet has ever subdued a razor claw without weapons. Yes, sir. Our combat instructors are requesting detailed information about human fighting techniques. I can provide what I know, sir. That is not enough, Commander Thex said. I am recommending that the Academy establish a formal program in human martial arts. Would you be interested in helping develop such a program? Hyun stopped walking. Sir? You would still attend regular classes, but you would also work with our combat department to create training materials, document techniques, perhaps even train some of our instructors. It was an incredible honor. Combat instruction at the Academy was usually reserved for senior faculty with decades of experience. I would be honored, sir, Hyun said. Good. Report to the combat department tomorrow after your regular classes. As they reached the corridor leading to the cadet dormitories, Commander Thex paused. Cadet Lee, what you did today will be remembered, not just here at the Academy, but throughout the galaxy. You have shown that humans deserve respect. Use that respect wisely. I will, sir. That night, Hyun and Gina sat in their shared room looking out at the alien stars. In the distance, they could see ships arriving and departing from the Academy's docking bays. Dr. Yoon told me that 3 new human cadets have applied to the Academy, Gina said. Word is spreading that humans are welcome here. Good, Hyun said. The more they understand about us, the better. Do you think they'll ever really understand what it means to be human? Hyun thought about the aliens he had taught that evening. How they had struggled with concepts that seemed natural to him. How they had looked at him with amazement.